All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk and John Iadarola with you guys today. I'm going to start in a bizarre way by saying yesterday I promised you the Seymour Hersh story about ISIS. It's a great, great story. I ran out of time for it. I'm going to do it tomorrow because it is a long story. I really want you guys to hear it, so that'll be on tomorrow's program. But today's program, first story is about 19-year-old Quintonio LeGrier, who was shot and killed by Chicago police and neighbor Betty Jones. It's close to another murder, however you want to categorize it. Yeah. And we'll get into that and the father's reaction in a second. I bring that up even though it's coming up next, just to tell you, like, that's one of the major stories of today, and I'm obviously super pissed about it. But there's a second story in the second hour that is also related to police abuse that I don't want you to miss. Oh, yeah. It's about these Florida cops who on purpose have their K-9 dogs maul people, and even if they called for help. Very similar to this LeGrier story. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you called for help. Great, an opportunity for my dog to rip your flesh apart. I mean, it is so grotesque, and I hate to do this to you guys. I know that, like, I'm starting to get tired of these stories, but we have to do it because one of the things that I think, you know, if we're good for anything, and I'm not sure we are, but if we are, one of the things is to shine a spotlight on these abuses that are happening, you know, in the darkness. And if you don't shine a spotlight, they keep getting away with it and getting away with it. Now, all of a sudden, the Chicago mayor, who honestly didn't seem to give a shit about any police abuse in Chicago for so long, all those years, all of a sudden interrupting his beloved vacations to come back to Chicago to deal with it. Where were you all these years when those cases piled up one after another, but you never got in trouble for it? Now that you're getting in trouble for it, all of a sudden it's important to you. And how do they get in trouble for it? By shows like ours and great print journalism, especially in the Florida case, exposing it and uncovering these sons of bitches. Look, of course, there's light moments in today's show, too. We've got a hoverboard priest that you're going to fall in love with. Unfortunately, he also gets punished.
Yeah, he was mauled by a dog. No.
Okay.
Wait until you find out why they have them mauled by dogs.
Yeah,
it couldn't be more terrible.
It couldn't be worse. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so look forward to a story in the second hour that couldn't be worse. Okay. And
until tomorrow, when it'll be worse.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, and finally, just before we get started, I want to thank you guys. I want to keep it going, of course, but yesterday we were at 362 signups for Wolfpack. We were trying to get to 500, and one of the Wolfpack main organizers, Mike Minetto, was here in the studio yesterday, and I kept saying to you guys on the air just a couple of times, like, hey, can I see 400? Can I see 400? And I was telling Mike off there, I'm like, man, if we get to 400, that's amazing. Like, that's fantastic. He's like, no, I think we're going to get to 500. I'm like, all right, Mike, if you say so, Mr. Director of Organizing.
Yeah,
okay.
You patted him on the head. It was dismissive.
So today we're already at 421. So come on, prove me wrong, prove Mike right. Can I see 500? wolf-pack.com/New Year. And I'm telling you, man.
It's only to save democracy.
It's not a big deal, right?
No big deal.
No, but more than saving democracy, although can't really get more than that. You know, I got a tweet yesterday, too, of somebody who said, I've never felt more powerful than after I joined Wolfpack. Yeah. One, I'm doing something and I'm taking charge, right? Two, the minute that I actually talked to a legislator and got them, and I hear this all the time at Wolfpack, and got them to do something that I didn't think that they would do, I was like, oh my God, that's how democracy is supposed to work. Yeah. We're supposed to have the power. Yeah. Oh, it's a great feeling, man.
When your state finally calls for the convention, don't you want to be one of the ones who made it happen? And it's no debate. That's a historic thing will happen. You can be part of it in your state.
Absolutely. So join Wolfpack in any way that you can. We'd love to have you guys volunteer and be our warriors. But if you can't do that, for God's sake, at least be a member. Support those warriors so we can hire a couple of them, make them full-time. Making them full-time makes an enormous difference. So this is to hire people. So wolf-pack.com/New Year. Let's go get to 500. Prove Mike right. All right. Now, unfortunately, sad stories.
Sad story. Rough news. Last week, a Chicago police officer responding to a 911 call shot and killed two of the people that he was going to the residence to supposedly help. And now one of the fathers, Antonio LeGrier, the father of one of the slain, 19-year-old Quintonio LeGrier, is speaking out. He was on CNN. We're going to show you a few videos of his remarks. Is obviously extremely emotional footage, a little bit hard to watch at points, but extremely important because this has just happened to him, and you can get a real feeling for what it's like to be one of the, unfortunately, many families who has to experience this in America every single year. So here's the first video.
He was a kind, generous son who always contribute nothing but the utmost respect for all people. His age, older, he was the model kid, wasn't perfect, but he was that type of kid that would respect anyone of authority. And he was a great son, the perfect son for me.
So obviously, preemptively in some way fighting back against what will surely be, inevitably, the right-wing media's attempt to paint this 19-year-old kid as he had it coming, he was asking for it, he made it happen. No, it's his son. To him, it's his perfect son.
So
not it coming.
He said, "This is my only son. You robbed me of everything."
Yeah.
So kid was an electrical engineer. So the reason the cops were called is because he had some emotional issue. We get that. The mom says he doesn't have any mental issues. The kid's an electrical engineer. He's bright. He's had a great future ahead of him. Now, I don't know the details of that. We don't need to argue over that. But the lawyer says that they shot from 20 feet outside the house. How close could the kid have been from inside the house? They also shot 55-year-old Betty Jones, who answered the door. They're coming in shooting when they were called to help.
Yeah, not even in. Just walking towards the house, the door opens, they begin shooting.
Yeah, and look, he's going to tell you more about how it went down. But he also said, "I need the nation to know that I raised a good son." Because what's sick about this is after you lose, I mean, I don't know if you guys got kids, but think about it. If it was your son, your kid, and they shot him dead, and you're going to hear more of what they did to the father afterwards. And then you have to go on national TV to defend him. He's the victim, right? But no, you have to defend him because you know the onslaught is coming, as John pointed out. Oh, did he ever do anything wrong? Was he ever, did he ever get detention in school? Literally, these are the
Is there a picture on social media we don't like?
Yeah, because, if your son got shot, he must have been guilty. Yeah. Well, how about Betty Jones? Even the cops say, well, oops on that one. 55-year-old answered the door. Shouldn't answer the door to cops. Of course we're going to shoot you. That one they say is an accident, although with Quintonio, they don't say that it's an accident. They say that he was, that they had questions about him and that because the 911 call said that he was, quote, a little agitated.
Yeah.
So if the cops know you're a little agitated, well, obviously they're going to come and shoot you.
They're already terrified. Yeah, but we're going to show you more video in just a second, but their description of exactly what happened in regards to Quintonio is officers responded to a domestic disturbance at a residence. Upon arrival, officers were confronted by a combative subject, resulting in the discharging of the officer's weapon, which fatally wounded 2 individuals. What I love about that statement, it is so purposefully the most passive sentence that has ever been written in the English language. Resulting in the discharging of the officer's weapon. Just naturally through the laws of physics. His gun went off because he was combative. No, you shot and killed him.
No, that's
and her.
Victim blaming 101. You murdered the kid, and then you say, he caused the discharging of my weapon.
There's no officer in this. There's no officer. It's just a gun floating.
By being combative. What was Betty Jones being combative? All they did was answer the door. You came in shooting. So, no, the 30-day suspension for now. They're looking it over, mulling it.
We don't know who the cop is.
Right. We don't know who he is. And I'm sure that the police will come clean, as they always do, throughout the country and say, oh, yeah, no, this is very important that we protect civilians. No, they're going to blame the civilians. They're already doing it.
Yeah. So why don't we show more? As you said, the father is going to describe exactly what happened that night.
After a second banging on the door, I received a phone and called the police department because I wasn't equipped with being able to understand how to deal with my angry son at that time, because I figured the police would know better how to handle an angry situation that my teenage son was going through.
So the description of the night is going to come in the next video. There, he's describing why he chose to call the police. He had heard his son banging on his door with a baseball bat. And it's amazing to me that he still, at this point, after all that we've seen over the past couple of years, he still turns to the police to help him in a situation with his family that he can't handle, which is beautiful but tragic in this case.
So the father here, I think he is way, way, way too kind to the cops. We'll get to that in a second. But here, he made the initial mistake of thinking that cops would come to help you. In Chicago? When you're black?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and again, he's such a good-hearted guy. So he thought, I'm not equipped for this. You thought the cops would have training to deal with someone who was having an emotional issue? Do you know that people who are mentally ill are the most likely to be shot? Second most likely are black people. If you've got a black person having an emotional or mental issue on that moment, oh no, don't call the cops. I mean, isn't this sick? I'm telling you right now, look, you try to take a handle on it on your own, call a doctor, do whatever you got to do, maybe call an ambulance, but I'm afraid. I'm not sure I'd call the cops. Cops come in with guns raised, and the kid's got a bat. Oh, they're going to call it a weapon, and it's done. It's done. You're taking your life, your neighbor's life, your son's life into your hands. Now, he didn't know that. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
He thought that we live in a decent country where the cops would come to help you. No. So what? Oh my God, they're not trained, and this is what we've been saying over and over again. Well, you goddamn train them already. Don't train them to kill. Train them to help. I know that's a crazy thought for cops across the country. They get trained for the overwhelming majority, and we've covered this on the show before. The overwhelming majority of their training is: how do I kill him? How do I stop him? How do I do aggression? How do I get him down? How do I arrest him? How do I use physical force and get him down and get him to respect me? Right? God, this isn't about your respect. Like they're all coming in here with power trips and wanting respect and all that stuff. A tiny percentage of the training is, hey, maybe we shouldn't shoot sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes maybe we shouldn't shoot. No, when they do training, and it's not all the departments, in San Antonio, they train on, hey, some people we go to deal with have mental issues. Mm-hmm. And so when you are confronted with that, this is what you should do. And you know what happens? They don't shoot in San Antonio. That's good. That's good. It's not that they never shoot. It's not that there's never any problems in San Antonio, but they are better equipped. But we don't equip cops in Chicago with that. We equip them to kill, and then when they kill, we're all surprised. You shouldn't be surprised.
Okay, let's go to this next clip. This is where the father, I think that the weight of what has just happened sort of sweeps over him live on TV. So let's watch.
And as I got a quarter of the way down the staircase, I heard gunshots. I stopped at that point in time because I didn't know for sure where those shots were coming from. After that, the gunshot stopped. I proceeded further down the stairs, displaying my hands, indicating that I'm sorry, Miss Brooke.
No, I'm
indicating
sorry.
I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Indicating that I was the father and I was the one that called. Please forgive me, Miss Brooks. My son was laying there, and he was still alive and moving. And no one at all assisted him at any time while he was there. Once the paramedics approached the porch, they proceeded onto the porch. And I look back in the hallway, and I see them dragging my son out, not to roll him over to give him a CPR, but just to pull him out and put him on the gurney and roll him away. No one administered CPR at any point. No one. At this point, I didn't know what to say or what to do as I saw my son and Miss Jones be rolled away.
So they didn't try to help him. That is almost a constant in all of these cases. They shoot the person, they just leave him there to die. Because it's easier to win a court case, I suppose, when the person's dead than when they're crippled for the rest of their life. They dragged the father away to question him for hours, and during all of that time, they refused to tell him what happened to his son. Now, his son had died, but they refused to tell him that.
When I first did the story on the show, I didn't think I could get angrier. But as usual, I was wrong about that. I'm now angrier. Again, I'm asking you, if you got kids, I saw this in a movie once, in a silly Time to Kill Matthew McConaughey movie, where he says to the jury, now imagine if it was your kid and not a black kid. And I thought, doesn't everybody do that? Mm-hmm. And the reality is, no, they don't do that. They don't. So I guess I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Imagine that it's not a black kid, that it's your kid. Your kid. Whether you're black, white, whatever. It's your kid, right? You called for help. The cops come and shoot your kid dead. They won't help him. He's there bleeding out. They won't help him. You're asking him, please, can you help him? You just shot him. Can you please help him? And then they drag you away and question you. You don't know if your son's dead or alive. You don't know what happened to him, but they're checking in on you. Why? Because they got to cover their ass.
Yeah.
They just murdered your son. So they're busy covering their ass. They won't even tell you if your son's alive or dead. Can you imagine anything more grotesque? Black people are angry, I'm told. Not nearly angry enough. Not nearly angry enough. Imagine how angry you would be if that happened to your son, your daughter, someone you loved. Imagine how angry you'd be at anyone who did that. These guys are worse than common criminals because we gave them badges, we gave them guns, we gave them responsibility. They're supposed to protect us. Common criminal we know could come and get us. Their job isn't to protect us. Yeah. The cops' job is to protect us, and instead they come in shooting. And yes, it is disproportionately black. I covered this on yesterday's show.
Yeah.
Young black males are shot 21 times more often than young white males by cops. If you can't see that that's disproportionate and that race is an issue, you're purposely being blind to it because you don't want to see it. It makes you uncomfortable. And you think, well, they shoot a couple of black kids and then a 55-year-old grandmother. It wasn't my grandma. It wasn't my kid. Well, then there's something wrong with you. And there's something wrong with us as a country if you're not morally shocked and outraged by that. And so yeah, he sues, right? He sued for $50,000.
Yeah, $50,000 wrongful death.
Okay, he's doing that so that they investigate it. Okay, $50,000 is nothing. My guess is he's suing for a small amount so it doesn't seem like he's doing this for money, right? Because you know what people are going to say? Oh, yeah, he's trying to get rich. God damn it, it's his only son. Don't you have any feelings, right? I would have sued for $1 billion. I would have sued for $10 billion until I bankrupted the Chicago Police Department and built it again to be a humane police department that protects us instead of killing us. I'd have driven them out of business in any way, shape I could if they did that to my family. What would you have done if it was your family? Are you kidding me with $50,000? I'd want to break their back as an organization because they keep killing people. They're shooting them in the back, shooting them in the front, when they answer the door, when they ask for help. Look, this guy is way too decent. This father, Antonio, he says he wanted to reach out to the family members of the officer who did the shooting.
Yeah.
He is 1,000 times more decent than I am. He says, quote, I'm sure he's hurting as well about the cop because he has to live with the fact that he shot blindly into a doorway without thinking about who or what he would hit. Look, this is part of a cultural thing, and I shouldn't say it, but white people in this country, unfortunately, have taught African Americans for hundreds of years that even if you are the victim, you are aggrieved, you are trespassed upon in any way, you're supposed to apologize.
Yeah. Okay,
you bow your head, right? They shoot you, you bow your head. Same thing happened in South Carolina. Dylan Roof comes in and shoots 9 people in a church. The judge asks, and I've got one of our fans or one of our audience members knows the judge, says he's a decent guy. Okay, I believe it, but it's in the culture. It's in the culture. They ask for forgiveness and feelings for Dylan Roof's parents.
Yeah.
It's not time for that. It's not time for that. Maybe you're a better person than I am, but it's time to say, God damn it, we should be more angry. Stop killing our kids. Stop killing our kids. It's not too much to ask for.
It's amazing to me when I watch how he was. I mean, he just lost his entire life there. And then you compare that to when they bring George Zimmerman on, or in Ferguson, they bring the cop who killed him. Like, he is more apologetic than the people getting away with literal murder. And I don't understand how we got to the point where, I mean, every video that we watch, we show these videos of people being shot. We show a person with their shirt off, hands up, surrounded by cops. They get shot from 20 feet away. They weren't even moving. They get shot. And we see a kid who has a gun in a park. He gets shot after 2 seconds. And we see them just, a door opens, they begin shooting into it when they have no reason to believe that they're in any danger. How are they as scared as they are? We've shown the stats, I believe, just yesterday. they're not dying at higher rates. There are so many jobs in this country that are so much more dangerous than being a cop. Cutting down trees, taxi drivers, more likely to die on the job than cops. And for some reason, they think they're on the brink of death every second that they're out there. Are they being told that every day during their training? Are they being told that they're probably going to die at some point when they go out on one of these calls? Because they act like they're in the middle of Baghdad. They act like they're strolling through Syria.
Look,
he had a bat, supposedly. They say he lunged at him. I loved Malcolm tweeted, America seems to have a dangerous trend where more and more young black men seem to be just jumping at police all of a sudden. Even if he jumped at the police with a bat, you don't get to shoot him dead. Am I crazy? I don't think that I'm crazy to say that. You should take some risks with your life when you're a cop. That is one of the things that we ask of you when we give you an amazingly cushy job in a number of different economic ways and the ability to injure and kill people. But they don't seem to be willing to take any risks whatsoever. Even after all of the cases that we've seen, even specifically in Chicago, when they are all being looked at with new scrutiny, hardcore scrutiny every day, doesn't faze them. They go to the house, they start shooting. There's no way that apparently we can control their behavior if we can't control the behavior of cops this month in Chicago.
Look, Rahm Emanuel, is he doing enough? Look, it's not just on Rahm Emanuel. This is a nationwide trend. But in this case, where Rahm Emanuel is pretending to care a lot, you know what I'd have done if I was the mayor? I'd have torn that police department up. I'd have been in there. We're not having political conversations. We're having conversations with, you're goddamn fixing this today. Otherwise, every motherfucking one of you is fired. You're not getting a pension. You'll have to sue me, and you'll have to sue the city of Chicago for the 20, 30 years. Everybody that is in the upper echelon of the police department, I'm going to make it my fucking personal goal to make sure that you never get another dime from the city of Chicago if you don't change immediately. I'd have done that on day one, let alone after Laquan McDonald, let alone a year after Laquan McDonald, when the video came out and all of a sudden your ass was on the line. But did you do it? No. And here's because you never changed it. You never changed it. You never demanded that reorganization. You never demanded responsibility. You never demanded any of it. Chicago police kept doing what they always do, which is brutalize the local population. Because, look, it's not just Chicago PD. I talked to 2 Baltimore cops. You can look at the interviews, and you can see every one of the cases. They view the local communities, if they are inner city communities, they're minority communities, they view them as the enemy, and they view themselves as an occupying force. Yeah. So, and I read a recent case, again, where the guy's like, well, okay, since, we're always in danger. You're not always in danger. The assumption is they're black people, they're putting us in danger. That's my assumption. So another study, again, I talked about it on the show this week. Cops proven in studies to pull the trigger quicker if it's somebody black rather than white. When are we going to acknowledge the most obvious thing in the world? Finally, I'm sorry, I made a mistake earlier. I said he was suspended for 30 days. Of course not. He's on administrative duty for 30 days. Perfectly comfortable still as a cop. They'll look into it. Now, because Rahm Emanuel's political career depends on it, there might be some consequences. Under normal conditions, there would be no consequences whatsoever.
It's amazing that they still get away with it.
Yeah.
Tamir, like we showed...
You right-wing pricks, talk to me about Betty Jones. Tell me how she had it coming. The 55-year-old grandmother opening the door for... She's the neighbor. She's not his grandmother. The neighbor opening the door for the cops, right? Tell me how she had it coming. Are you going to look into her past, see if she got suspended or had detention in school back 40 years ago? What do you... No. Well, I mean, it's a dangerous area and we're an occupying force.
You don't think that Anthony Cumia can come up with a reason that 55-year-old black woman had it coming? Right. I think he's going to be able to do those gymnastics.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. First of all, let's keep it going for Wolfpack. Before the show started, we were at 421 signups for the month, which is amazing. You guys are awesome. That's a great number, by the way. But let's increase that number. Can I see 500 on the board? Can I see 500 on the board? We've got 2 days left before the end of the year. Remember, first $10,000 are all matched, so your money is doubled if you put it in right now, okay? So wolf-pack.com/New Year. Become part of the answer and feel the power. wolf-pack.com/New Year. Okay, a couple of tweets for you. Michael Gibb writes in, robot journalists aren't even from the old days. Edward R. Murrow was from the old days. His activism made him the best. So Michael makes a great point. These guys, the robots on CNN, say we have to be robotic. We're not supposed to have any opinions. And then they celebrate Walter Cronkite. And his two most celebrated moments are when he showed emotion and cried when JFK was shot, and when he voiced an opinion and said the war in Vietnam is not working. And Edward R. Murrow had commentary and opinions and analysis all the time, and he is one of the most celebrated television journalists. If there is such a thing left as a television journalist. So, and they did back then. So it's a great point. A Winterized Gnome writes in, which is already a fun name, John secretly wants to walk around with a samurai sword every day.
Yeah, it's not a secret.
Yeah. So he was talking about that in the show, but you're absolutely right. If you're on Instagram and you follow John, you'll see that the dorkiness is not a front. Okay, he is a real dork in real life.
Yeah, he's open about it. You know what? I don't think you've been called out on the fact that you are an Insta creeper.
Yeah,
I
should be called
right?
out.
Because he has an Instagram account. He's posted 3 pictures dating back to 15 years ago, and they're all of food. And he looks at all of our Instagram pictures and monitors them, right? But he doesn't post anything himself. I think it's questionable. You're an Insta creeper.
Jesus. I see you in your flannel shirts and your family cutesy Christmas pictures.
Those were so cute.
Yeah. So John, half of his pictures from vacation were playing board games.
I know. John is he's such a homebody.
If we weren't all friends, you're right. The fact that I'm the boss here would actually make it slightly weird.
Right.
Like, why am I checking in on John's vacation?
Yes,
right?
yes.
By the way, I don't think him and his brother look alike at all.
Yeah, they look very different. You're right.
Anyway, all right, random. Okay, Stephen Scales. Pataki is my safe word during crazy sex. Nothing screams I quit better. Well, maybe Jindal.
Which last name is stranger? Pataki, which of course rhymes with shiitake, so I automatically think of Japanese cuisine or whatever.
Oh,
or
didn't even think about that. Okay.
I don't even know if shiitake mushrooms are used in Japanese cuisine. It just sounds Japanese. Anyway, or Dukakis, which I think honestly Dukakis is the worst last name of all time. Change your last name. Dukakis is unacceptable.
Sorry, Michael. Change your last name.
Dukakis?
Dukakis? Mikakis? Dukakis? I agree with you. I don't know. Those Mediterranean names, they've got problems.
Jeez.
Said two people kind of from the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Okay, and certainly with goofy names. All right, one last thing for you guys. We have a winner. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. So we were giving away a Monster Superstar. Those are portable for music. They're indestructible. Shaq and I did an ad about it. Not a big deal. So a whole bunch of you submitted through Twitter. We picked one winner, and that is, here was a tweet that won. It is TYT Chicago bannerman Doc Daniels.
Awesome.
Great job, Doc. So it was a giveaway. It was for the holidays. So Doc doesn't get the Superstar. He tried to give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. That's the spirit of giving we have here at TYT. So his tweet was, Wolfpack, Illinois, and TYT Chicago champion Kid Cabello deserves a Superstar. He always gives his all. Now, that's true. He really does. Kid's a great guy. I met him in the Chicago meetup that we did.
Yeah.
And so we liked that Doc wanted someone to get that for their effort. That's very TYT. So great job. I feel bad for everybody who tweeted in. They had all these great stories, and they wanted to give it to their kids and stuff. You guys are all so super sweet. I love you for it. We only had one to give away, but you can get $40 off. Any of you can if you go to monsterproducts.com/TYT. You can get $40 off a Superstar right now. So, hey, $40 is better than nothing, right? So monsterproducts.com/TYT. And thank you for participating. We appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, let's go on to some news today. Bill Cosby has been charged with criminal charges dating back to an alleged sexual assault in January of 2004. Now, the attorney, or I should say the prosecutor who was on duty at the time, refused to press criminal charges on Bill Clinton. Wow, where did that come from?
Well,
that was so
it
weird.
came from somewhere. That
Bill
was a funny
Cosby.
Freudian slip.
Sorry about that. The prosecutor at the time refused to file charges against Bill Cosby because he felt that there was insufficient evidence. However, the new prosecutor in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, has decided that there is sufficient evidence and will proceed with a criminal case against Bill Cosby. Now, just to give you some more details on this, the case involves a woman by the name of Andrea Constant, who apparently met Bill Cosby at Temple University when they were both involved with the university. Now, Kevin Steele, who is the prosecutor in this case, is saying that, hey, you know what, maybe at the time there wasn't enough evidence, but I said that if I got elected into this position, which he did, I would make it a priority to look into this case to ensure that there is justice. Now, lucky for him, there was the new evidence of the unsealed records or the unsealed deposition where Bill Cosby had admitted to purchasing Quaaludes with the sole intention of giving it to women that he wanted to have sex with. And so that new information made it possible for this prosecutor to go after him.
So I want to clarify a couple of things here. So now it's the same prosecutor's office. Obviously, as Anna just told you, it's different prosecutors. The same one had been in office until he lost. He lost because Steele made it an issue that he didn't prosecute Bill Cosby. So that's what democracy's for. This guy runs and says, there is new evidence. There's already evidence. The evidence came out in July when the documents were unsealed, and we found out, the whole public found out, that in the deposition, Cosby did admit to giving drugs to have sex with women, like to incapacitate them, etc. So in the election campaign, he said, we have the evidence. The statute of limitations is running out. If you elect me, I will go after Bill Cosby. So the situation had already changed before the election. And he said, I'm going to do something about it. He won the election, assumedly partly because of this. So he gets into office. There's a couple of days left before the statute of limitations runs out, which is 12 years on a case like this. So he's like, boom, new evidence. We know that in the civil case, he pretty much came as close as he could to admitting it. So that's a crime. We're going to go after him.
So let's hear from Kevin Steele himself. He's the prosecutor. He had a press conference today, and he talked more specifically about the charges against Cosby.
These charges stem from a sexual assault that took place on an evening in early 2004 at Mr. Cosby's home in Cheltenham Township, Montgomery County. Mr. Cosby is charged with aggravated indecent assault. This is a felony of the first degree. Mr. Cosby's attorney has been notified of the charges, and he is expected to be arraigned later this afternoon. When we have a specific time for that, we'll let you know, and that's going to be at the Magisterial District Judge's office in Elkins Park. The charges today are filed as a result of new information that came to light in July of 2015. The statute of limitations in this type of case is 12 years. After determining that the statute of limitations regarding potential criminal offenses had not yet expired, the investigation was reopened.
This is incredible. And look, there were a number of events. It was almost like a domino effect that led to this very moment. Okay, so the Associated Press was relentless about unsealing those sealed court documents. And the judge finally said, okay, fine, you can look at the court documents because Bill Cosby is a public figure. He can be considered a public servant. So as a result, he doesn't have the same privacy protections as private citizens. And so the Associated Press did that. And that's how Kevin Steele got his hands on that new information. And so that's going to lead to this criminal investigation, this criminal court case, and hopefully there'll be justice. And if he didn't do it, hopefully that'll be shown in a court of law.
I'm not sure I agree with the ruling. We never got into the details on this show about declaring Bill Cosby a public servant. But I'm happy about the results.
Yeah, me too. I know.
Right.
I know.
Now, you shouldn't do court decisions based on being happy about the results. But as it is, finally, perhaps a little bit of justice. So all those people who were saying, oh, no, he never got convicted, Okay, great. Now you're going to have your opportunity. Maybe he'll be shown to be innocent. Now, of course, that's not how criminal cases work. You're either acquitted or found guilty. Acquitted doesn't mean you're innocent. It means they couldn't prove that you were guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
Okay, but at least he'll have his day in court, and everybody will get to see the evidence in public.
And just a few more details for you guys. He did show up to his arraignment, and the judge took his passport away from him. He is free on $1 million bail.
Yeah, well, okay. The $1 million bail isn't going to be much of an issue for Bill Cosby.
Right.
But I'm glad they took his passport so he couldn't join Ethan Couch in Puerto Vallarta. Imagine him. He's like, well, what? I thought I'd just meld in like Couch was. And finally, to give you a sense of the severity of the case, first of all, he already settled this out of court, the civil part, not the criminal part. You can't settle criminal charges out of court. And that's where we got the deposition from. And that's where he admitted giving quaaludes to women to have sex with them.
Right.
And she said that in her case, she was frozen, paralyzed, and unable to move as he violated her.
That's right. And Cosby claims that he did not give her quaaludes, that he gave her 1.5 Benadryls. But why
What's
did
the
you?
difference?
He said, I gave her 1.5 Benadryls because I wanted her to relax. She was feeling stressed. I mean,
the whole point is that you were trying to get her incapacitated. Okay, there's a world of difference between, hey, we had a bunch of beers, we were both drunk, and no, I'm giving you something to make sure you can't move while I have my way with you.
Yeah, in addition to alcohol.
Yes.
So, all right, moving on to some terrible news. Police officials in Florida are being called out for their overuse of the K-9 unit and their decision to sick a dog onto an 18-year-old teen who was depressed and hiding in a trash can. So let me give you the details on this. It's specifically about the Northport, Florida Police Department. And their K-9 unit has been criticized in the past. There have been some investigative reports showing that they have used the K-9 unit in cases where they shouldn't have used it. They've done excessive force. And Keith Bush is one of the authorities that's being questioned right now. Now, Keith Bush, the leader of their K-9 unit, responded to a scene, but not before telling a fellow K-9 handler to come join in on the fun. Okay, so what happened is a mother calls the cops because she finds that her son is suicidal. She found a noose in the garage and she was concerned that he was going to try to hang himself. So she calls the cops to protect and serve, and they did the exact opposite. The cops show up, and almost immediately they decide it's a good idea to sick a dog on this kid who, again, was hiding in a trash can. All right?
No, but let's be clear here, and you're going to read the quotes, and so you'll get a perfect sense of this. But they didn't decide to do that immediately when they showed up. They decided to do that before they showed up.
Yes, thank you for that distinction. And I'm going to read you the text that they sent to one another that shows you how premeditated this was. Now, on this day, before he or any other officer reached Jared LeMay, that's the victim, Jared LeMay's home, Bush sent a message to fellow K-9 handler Michael Dietz, come get your bite. Okay. These are text messages that were obtained by the Sarasota Herald Tribune. They did an 18-month investigation into this police department and what they've been doing with their K-9 unit. And the details that they found are shocking, to say the least.
A great, great piece of journalism. They should get enormous credit for what they've done here. And by the way, he says, come get your bite. And then he sends another message saying, I'm going to take your bite if you don't hurry up. So there's a police department that uses these K-9 units, as Anna pointed out, more often than not only than normal, but more than neighboring municipalities, Sarasota, Bradenton, Palmetto, Venice, Punta Gorda, combined between 2010 and 2014. So this is what they do, and they're messaging each other before they go, and they know it's a call about helping a kid who's thinking about committing suicide. They're like, come, let's sick our dogs on him and make sure they take chunks of his, skin and meat off him. That they want to maul this kid who's thinking of committing suicide. Does it get any sicker than that?
So LeMay, who was found unarmed and hiding in a trash can in his garage, was bitten in the face and back by Dietz's dog. We're about to show you a picture that is graphic, but it shows you some of the injuries that the victim had on his face. Again, this is an 18-year-old who was suicidal and depressed, okay, and was unarmed as well.
So you're going to get details on how much damage was done according to the cops in a second. So the guy who was saying, come get your bite to the other officer, Dietz, apparently Dietz actually did show up and did get his bite.
Yes.
They knocked the garbage can over and sicked the dog on him right away. No attempt to detain him, no attempt to help him, which is, look, this is how many stories are we going to have where family members call the cops to help them, and the cops think, oh, great, we're going to come either murder your kids, we're going to maul your kids, we're going to laugh behind your back as we have our dogs rip your kid's face apart. So go ahead, Anna, read him the details.
All right, so after he was taken to the emergency room, another cop, William Carter, messaged Dietz, congrats, commending him for his dog's first bite. Your bite or Dietz's? Mikhail inquired. I let Dietz have it, Bush replied. Nice, how bad? Mikhail asked. Bad, Bush wrote. Face and back. Skin graft bad? Mikhail asked. No, Bush wrote. So they're like bragging about how bad the injuries are, but thankfully it wasn't that bad. And then another person said, Mikhail said, could have been worse then. He should have complied. But
so no. So let's be very, very, very clear about this. That at the end there is a joke, like he should have complied. They're having a laugh over it, right? Because they know that the message was sent before they ever went to go see the kid, and they knew they were going to rip the kid apart before they ever went in. So there's no attempt to get him to comply. The kid's hiding in a trash can because he's suicidal. And these monsters don't think, oh my God, they don't think that's a fellow human being. That's an 18-year-old. Can I help him? They think, oh, I'm going to get my dogs to rip him apart. You know who thinks like that? Nazis think like that. So, first of all, there is absolutely no question. Fired? Are you kidding me? They have to be arrested. If they're not arrested, that means we've given up as a country on our democracy. That the cops are above the law. They can do whatever they want. You call the cops. They're not here to help you. They're here to rip you apart. They're here to rip your kid's face apart and brag about it. You got to understand something. They sent the messages before they arrived, knowing the kid's suicidal. That's premeditated. That's a crime. There's no question it's a crime. It's premeditated assault and a vicious assault on a poor kid. That's number one. Number two, even if the person was a criminal, which in this case they're not, right?
Well, okay, so he's not a violent criminal by any means. He was wanted for violating his probation, and he was on probation because of an unarmed burglary that he did in the past, okay?
But that's not what the call was about.
That's not what the call was about.
The call is, help my son. I'm worried he's suicidal. Please come help. Even if he was a criminal, even if he was in the middle of the burglary, you can't decide ahead of time whether he's a danger or not. I'm not going to try to arrest him. I'm going to have my dogs rip him apart, okay? In this case, he's not a criminal in this context. He's asking for help. And when you get called in to help someone and you decide to do this to them instead, you're a sick, deranged person. Who wouldn't they do this to?
Yeah. I mean, one of the police officials was arrested a few years later for domestic abuse. He pleaded no contest to it. He hit his wife, okay? I feel like this is a common theme that you see among police officials who use excessive force, right? It's not like, oh my God, it was the heat of the moment, they didn't know what to do, they panicked and they used excessive force. It wasn't like they are always facing an imminent threat and they're just trying to protect themselves. In this case, they weren't looking to protect themselves. They were looking to be entertained by using a dog and sicking him on a depressed kid who was hiding in a trash can. Their defense was that the garage was dark and they couldn't turn the light on, that the light wasn't working. Not buying that for a second. And again, it was premeditated. We already have the text showing what they intended to do. It wasn't about a light not being able to work or whatever.
So the newspaper, after they do this investigation, 2 years after the attack, they show it to the police, and the cops go, oh, yeah, that's a shame. Okay, we'll discipline him. And they give him the lightest form of discipline they can give, memorandum of counseling. But they say that, yeah, okay, it was a little unprofessional, but, quote, the attack on LeMay was found to be within policy. If this is your policy, well, then the commanders, the people who wrote this report for Northport PD, they should also be arrested. I'm not talking about fired. Everybody should be fired. Everyone involved in this. Everyone who sent the text, everyone who sent the congratulations, everyone who wanted that kid ripped apart, every commander who authorized it and clearly authorizes it over and over again, they should all be fired. That's not even close to a question mark. I think they should all be arrested. I mean, what is I think? Of course they should be arrested. Imagine if anyone else says, oh, I got this vicious dog. I'm going to send him to your house and rip apart your 18-year-old. And then I'm going to brag about how you took chunks of your 18-year-old's face off and his back off. And then another guy goes, yeah, that's great. That's perfect. That's what I wanted him to do. It was within policy.
Yeah.
If that's the policy of the police department, then your police department are monsters. What are you going to do about it? It's not like they're attacking the other. I know sometimes right-wingers feel like, oh, well, if they're attacking people that don't look like me, go get them, right? Jared LeMay, I mean, he could be anybody's kid. Yep. I mean, I don't know if that doesn't get you, because we show black victims sometimes and people feel like
they don't care. They don't care. Let's keep it real. You show a black victim, the first thing that happens is, what kind of criminal is he and what did he do to deserve it? That's the first thing that happens, okay? But I mean, here's the thing. We're all potential victims of this type of behavior. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're white. If you're a minority, you're more likely to be a victim of this. But we've done story after story after story of young white individuals being attacked by the cops just the same way that they're being attacked by these, same way that they're attacking minorities. And here's the thing. We often have these conversations and these debates and disputes about whether or not cops are good or bad. Like, oh, they're not all bad. They're, some of them are good. A lot of them are good. No. Every police official in this police department is bad. Every single one of them, especially the ones that gave a pass to this ridiculous and egregious case of police brutality. Every single one of them is bad. The ones that are not standing up and forcing these guys to either quit or get fired, you're bad. You're bad. You know what's going on in your police department. There are reports to prove it.
You're not bad, you're a criminal. So if anyone purposely assaults someone and rips their face off, you get arrested. It's not an open question. So it's not, unfortunately, with so many cop stories like this in the news now, it's not a matter of a few bad apples. It's a matter of a few good apples. There are some good apples who are cops, but when police departments en masse sanction this kind of criminal behavior, well, we don't have to worry about the criminals as much as we have to worry about the cops. Because I get it. Criminals are going to want to rob you, do all these things. But they don't have badges. They don't have power over you. They don't get to do it as part of official government policy. And right-wingers, if you were worried about an abuse of government that would take your rights away, here it is. What are you going to do about it?
Amazing. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, cops and soldiers have orgies.